This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Hey there, welcome to episode 2 of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Today my guest is Brenda Bennett Maille of brendasweddingblog.com. She's the chief designer and creative editor over there, and she helps brides plan an elegant wedding with wow. She's been blogging for a long time, you guys, and she really has a lot to offer. Recently, Brenda has transitioned into being a social media strategist for wedding pros like you and I, and she helps wedding professionals be seen, shared, and featured with smart social media marketing that is never complicated and is easy to implement. I really enjoyed my conversation with Brenda, and I know you're going to get a lot out of her tips for Instagram and Pinterest, which is what we're talking about today. So let's go to the show. Hey guys, welcome to the She Creates Business podcast. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts, and today it is a super treat for me because I'm here with Brenda Bennett Maille of Brenda's Wedding Blog. I am so excited for her to chat with you today because she's going to be talking to us about Instagram and Pinterest strategies for wedding pros, and I can't think of a better person to talk about this with us. She really has it down. She offers services to other wedding professionals, and she's really been in the industry for quite some time. So Brenda, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Kinsey.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. If you would you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do in the wedding industry?
Well, basically, I am based in upstate New York, and I work with vendors throughout the whole U.S., Canada, and internationally. And I originally started, this will probably be, 15 years in the wedding industry for me.
Oh, my gosh.
So I originally started as just the graphic designer on a wedding directory. Mm-hmm. Then 2 years later, I became the owner. And then just eventually my blog started, Brenda's Wedding Blog. And then once that got more traffic than the directory, I shut down the directory and moved everything over to the blog. So now I am a wedding blogger and a social media strategist. And my goal, what I do with the wedding pros, is I want them to be seen, shared, and featured, and help them reach their target audience in the process.
That's fantastic. Let me back up a little bit. So someone else had started this wedding directory, and you came on as like the graphic designer. Is that correct?
Yes, and I helped. I designed the logo and helped her decide on the name because the name kept changing back and forth. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as it launched, it was mentioned in Bridal Guide magazine. And it just took off from there. But then she just decided she didn't want to be in the wedding industry anymore. Mm-hmm. So I took ownership and it became mine. And since then, I have just been stuck in the wedding industry, but I love it.
Well, I can see why. And was the Bridal Guide a localized bridal guide, or was it national?
No, it was national. And people might remember it was bestweddingsites.com.
Okay.
And then I don't know what made me start a blog on the side. I just, it was just when blogs were getting bigger. So it's just to try something. And then it just took off. So I'm like, and after having kids, I couldn't manage to sites that were in the same market.
Sure.
So I just moved everything over, and it was the best decision because it's just easier to maintain one thing.
Oh, sure. I hear you on that. Well, tell us about Brenda's Wedding Blog then. What year did you decide to start that? When you migrated everything over to one blog, and what did you start? How did that structure look when you first started?
Well, originally, I believe it was back in 2005 was when the blog started, and I was just featuring all different wedding ideas. It didn't have as much of a format as it does now. Mm-hmm. It's like as the years went on, it got reformatted, and I used to feature all about wedding news with destination weddings and press releases that would come to me. But then eventually I started working with great vendors. We would do sponsored posts. And then as social media grew, it was just so much. It's really great. You do a blog post, and then I share it on social media, and I get to see all the traffic that it then brings back to my vendors. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing the whole cycle that can happen from a blog post for the SEO, and then you carry it through to social media, the different platforms to reach other people.
Absolutely. That's incredible. Well, let me ask you then, when did you decide to start offering services to other wedding professionals? And by that, I mean, you've obviously, I think social media, you're, like I say, just a pro. So when did you decide, hey, I feel like other people could benefit from this as well?
Basically this year. This year was when it started, when I started working one-on-one with the vendors to help them directly, not just through the promotion on my blog.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just loved working one-on-one, helping them build their Instagram profile, help them with customized hashtag research, and then just watching them grow from there. And then, like, within no time, their likes have doubled. And the feedback has just been amazing. And it just keeps me going because it makes me super happy to see it.
I love that. What do you, okay, let's kind of turn it back to your blog and just your transformation with Pinterest and Instagram. How has being active on those two platforms really transformed your business prior to offering services to other professionals?
Well, Pinterest is huge. It's actually my top traffic referrer.
Okay.
It's before Google even, and then Google's right after it. And it just brings in so much traffic. It's amazing what it can do. And some pins will go viral. I have one pin from a sponsored post that actually has now reached over 21,000 repins.
Wow.
And the client it was from December 2014, this post went up on Pinterest, and they still, to this day, are getting sales from that blog post.
That is so powerful for a business.
It's amazing what the power can do. And now you can, you repin to different boards, not one right after the other, but you wait a few days, you pin to a different board, and it keeps it active because each pin that you put out there, that particular pin is active for 600 days. It has a lifespan of that long.
Mm-hmm.
So each repin, though, gives it another 600 days from that pin.
What does that mean exactly, that it has a lifespan of 600 days?
I guess basically like one pin, like if you were to just pin once and never pin it again, mm-hmm. it would be out there for like 600 days. But mm-hmm. because things keep getting repinned, the lifespan can be forever basically on a pin unless it just dies out and nobody keeps repinning it.
So a pin with 21,000 repins, I mean, the lifespan of that is, I'm not good at math, so I'm not even going to say. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And I think that's why that particular one still, it's like, that's my top, my top post on my blog now. And then what other, like, if I could just like give an example of like how this can work, like for another wedding shop, if they were to do it themselves, mm-hmm. what you want to do is like, you'll look to see which pin is bringing in the top traffic to your site. So then you want to optimize that particular post on your blog or the page on your site to also have an opt-in or a content upgrade to try and collect an email address. Because if you're bringing the traffic back in, mm-hmm. you want there to be a reason. You want to make use of all that traffic coming in.
Mm-hmm. And for someone listening right now who doesn't know how to see which pin is the most popular, how can they find that out, Brenda?
Well, there's two different ways. One is with your own blog stats, like either through Google Analytics or directly through your blog stats. You can see where your traffic is coming from, and then you'll see which blog post is your top one. Mm-hmm. And then when you're in Pinterest, you definitely want to have a business account. You want to upgrade to the business. It's free. There's mm-hmm. no charge for it. And then you can use the analytics in Pinterest to see your top posts and which ones get the most clicks, because you may have a few pins that are your top pins, but they may just be getting repinned, not necessarily bringing the click-throughs over. So you can check both.
Interesting. Do you have any recommendations? So I think that is something, just getting repins, I feel like that's probably what people get a lot of, more than the click-through. Mm-hmm. Do you have any recommendations or tips on how you can create a pin that encourages a click-through to our sites?
Well, there's a couple of things you can do. One is in your actual description. Mm-hmm. when you're writing it, because you want to try and have it be SEO, so keywords are in there, because Pinterest is more of a search engine versus like a social media platform.
Sure.
And then, so like in your description, you could include saying, click through for more inspiration or whatever that pin is about. You can have it be there. One thing I've noticed with this particular pin that has the 21,000 repins, right on the middle of it, in a circle, it says the word shop. So the pin itself can have a call to action. I think when you see that, I think it generates saying, okay, I actually want to click it. I don't want to just pin it and save it.
Absolutely. That's so smart. Do you think that so this particular pin and this particular business that you've helped, it sounds like they have a product. How can, I guess I'll just use myself as an example. So I own a venue in Colorado. What kind of call to action do you think, or, someone or you have a blog, now you have services and products, but if our product is, we're a wedding planner, so we offer those services, or we're a venue, so we offer those services. Do you have any suggestions for those kind of call to action, since it's not as direct as shop now or shop?
Yeah, like what I've done recently is I create pins even for my real weddings that I feature. Mm-hmm. And I kind of I look at the real wedding, and let me actually just so I can give you a true example.
Sure.
Even in my vendor guide, I have a vendor guide for a floral company. And so when I've done it is I just, I will look at the real wedding and say, for instance, I have an elegant summer Florida wedding. And so my pin that I had done for it has a little kind of a call to action, and it says how to plan an elegant Florida wedding. Or another one was a styled shoot for a sunset theme. So I have it saying how to plan a sunset wedding reception. So then that way when they click through, they'll see the photos related to it. So for your venue, for instance, you may have done a rustic wedding there. Mm-hmm. So you can, and if it was maybe an afternoon wedding, you can just have a title somehow related to that particular type of wedding. So it's used as inspiration. And then for your venue too, you would definitely want to have the location. And you can tag locations too on the pin when you put it in Pinterest. So there's additional, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, if you go in and you want to add in a pin, mm-hmm. There's a little location section where you put in the website after. Or if you go back, or if you're pinning from your site and you go back and you hit edit to edit the pin, mm-hmm. You can do it that way too.
So that's a geolocation?
Yes.
Wow.
And it's just a little additional way, just kind of on Instagram, when you tag a location, mm-hmm. You reach more people that way.
I did not know that. I feel like I'm seeing that little line, but I was why would you ever put that in there? But duh.
Yes, it's especially helpful for local vendors to use.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you just changed my life in one sentence. Thank you. You changed my Pinterest life. Well, let's kind of transition to Instagram then. How have you been using Instagram for your business, or how have you been helping your clients use Instagram for their businesses?
Well, there's a couple different ways. One is I certainly post my real wedding features and styled shoots. And one thing that I have found is, especially when you're featuring a photo with other vendors, to tag all the vendors that are included in the photo and in the description. Mm-hmm. And then that way it bumps up the engagement too, because they'll say that they were tagged. So typically they will come over and leave a comment and, say they love working with you and everything. And then you definitely want to be using targeted hashtags. And you don't want to just say hashtag wedding, because there's just too many in the results. So you want to target for where you're located. If you're a wedding photographer, mm-hmm. You could say hashtag Dallas wedding photographer, and definitely look at the hashtag to before you link to it, because sometimes you may not want to be seen in that mix when you're searching through. But I've noticed, like, after doing targeted hashtags, it's that way you are pulling in your target market, and you're reaching other vendors, because maybe there is another photographer in your area that didn't know about you, and then you can team up and work together, and brides will be searching too, and then they will be able to find you. And I know there's a florist that I've worked with, and she has now booked, I believe it's up to 3 brides now, from Instagram, that have found her through Instagram.
Straight from Instagram. That is impressive. Yeah. Do you think that, and you mentioned, tagging vendors, but then also using localized hashtags, and, here's this example of a gal who's booked 3 brides. Do you feel like using, both, I guess, Instagram and Pinterest what do you feel like it's better for? Finding your ideal client, or using them to connect with other professionals in kind of a networking and also friendship-based relationships? How do you feel about that? Which one is better, if there is one that's better for one or the other?
I think both are great. Pinterest is definitely a great way to get traffic back to your site. And it's certainly, in terms of vendors, I think vendors will be able to use Pinterest more to get their clients.
Okay.
As opposed to networking. But of course, you can still tag other accounts. Like, say you feature a photo and it was photographed by somebody. You can tag the photographer in your description when you're writing it on Pinterest. But with Instagram, I find Instagram as kind of like an all-around platform. You can use it as your portfolio online. You can tag vendors for collaboration and just showing the love, which is amazing when you can tag other people to support each other, which I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
And then when you use the targeted hashtags, you're reaching other vendors you can collaborate with, partner up with, and you can reach clients. So Instagram is totally all around, and Pinterest is more for search engines, bringing traffic to your site. Instagram can definitely bring traffic to your site too. It's just a little bit harder because there's that one link. So I use both for different reasons, and combined, they're amazing because they each have their own special perk that can totally be amazing in every way.
Agreed. And do you recommend that, everybody transition, if they haven't already? I'm sure they have, but do you recommend they transition to a business account also on Instagram?
I'll be honest and say don't do it.
Oh, okay. Tell me.
It's just, I haven't done it yet, and my engagement is increasing tremendously on its own. And from what I'm finding, like, I know some people say, like, I haven't noticed any change or anything, but I use Iconosquare, so I have no need for any other analytics at this time. For what I need, I can visually see it too. Because I see other people, because I'm constantly on it and checking accounts, and I see a lot that have switched over, but it really is, personally, I can see that it's limiting, and I've heard that it's actually, once you switch over, they do limit you, because of course now it's just like Facebook. They want you to pay to be seen.
Interesting.
So, and that's what a few other people have said, is like it does limit your engagement to a certain point. Like, you can only have so many see you, and then it kind of dies off after that. So until I'm like forced to make the switch, I'm just staying where I am because it's working so far.
Yeah.
And I don't want to mess with what's already working. So, and with Iconosquare, it's easy. And for me, it's been more of trial and error to find the peak times of when to post. And some people that have switched over to business have said that even the business sometimes doesn't tell them the peak times. It's like giving them a big broad span of times. But for me, it's just, I'm kind of always just, I don't use any outside apps except for, I do use Plann, Plann, to visualize what my feed looks like before I post anything so I can move things around. But I'm still old school. I will still type it up in text edit, email it to myself, copy and paste it in when my post time is ready.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's what's worked for me. So I don't like to mess with what's working. And I don't know. I just find that for right now, I'll just stick with what it is. And then eventually, I'm sure everybody's going to be forced to switch over. Anyways, if they are running a business.
Sure. Well, and I think too that I appreciate you saying that you're sticking with what's working, because there really is a lot of advice out there around what to do. Myself having a new business, the venue is new and the podcast is newer. It's hard to know what advice to take, but I do appreciate you saying that you're really just sticking with what's working. And personally, I really do, because I have a little bit of a fear using, especially, Pinterest does have, those like accepted schedulers that they've approved, but I have a little bit of a fear using outside companies, because I'm always terrified that, the actual social media platform like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest is going to, penalize people who are using outside like scheduling tools that haven't been approved or anything like that to access their account. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Especially with Instagram,
mm-hmm.
like one that will automatically actually schedule for you is completely against the Instagram rules. Like, for instance, Plan you can schedule everything out in it, and it will just notify you like your set time and then connect you into Instagram to post it. Mm-hmm. So it won't you still have to physically post it. But I'm just, from the beginning, I've just done text edit, because I always do my hashtag research before a post goes up. So I just spend more time, and I need to do that on my actual computer, not on my phone.
Right.
And then with Pinterest, though, I do use Tailwind to schedule pins.
Right.
And Tailwind is approved by Pinterest.
They are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'm totally fine with using, and it has been actually amazing since I have started using Tailwind.
I use Tailwind as well, and I like it a lot. Okay, so we've talked about Tailwind, we've kind of talked about Plan, and then I know you're using Iconosquare. Are those the three tools that you're using to manage your Instagram and Pinterest accounts?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really use any. I've tried using Later, but it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just not, I guess because I'm just so visual, being a graphic designer. It's just, I like Plan. Like, I can move my photos around, I import the photos into there, and I can just play around with it, because I love my photos to flow from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And like with me, I just kind of I pick a color from the one post, and then I kind of like it to be in the next one, so there is a little flow in the photos, and it just works for me. But Later was a little more hard to navigate for some reason, but Plan is so visual, just like Instagram is visual. So, and there's only one with Plan. It's not a monthly fee or anything. It's just a one-time price to download the app and use it.
And so did you say that Plan, and that's PLANN?
Yes.
Okay, and can you use that on your desktop, you said?
No, that's the only downside.
And
right now, you can't have multiple accounts.
Okay.
So I do have another account, but I never post to it like I should, because I can't visually plan it out yet.
Sure. And so I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was just confirming. So by visually planning it out, you mean you can see a grid of your Instagram page, and so you can see, I don't know, 6, 9, 12 photos in a row, so you can really see like color scheme and how everything is fitting together.
Yes. Like, I used to have probably past month now is uploaded to Plan, and I just, as I get photos either from my blog, my real wedding, or sometimes I will see a photo that I love from a vendor, and I will ask permission to feature it, and then I screenshot it and I crop it and I stick it into Plan, and then I can move it around so that I know when it will be featured.
Ah, smart. I just want to point out something you said right there. For those listening, I'm sure you caught it, but Brenda said that she asks permission before she reposts a photo, and I think that that's huge. I've read a lot of horror stories about bloggers posting photos that weren't theirs, and then they kind of paid the price. I'm not saying that will happen to you. It seems rare, but I do love that you ask permission.
Yeah, I can't take a photo. I just can't. And I was listening to somebody recently who apparently is like the so-called expert, and they said to share the love, just take the photo and credit them. And it made me cringe because I can't do that.
Yeah, it can be nerve-wracking. I mean, I guess personally, if someone took my photo and credited me, I would probably personally be okay with it, and that's totally fine. But I think that there's people out there who wouldn't be okay with it. So, yeah, due diligence is always good. Err on the side of caution.
Yeah, and I also have my own hashtag that I've set up that's in my profile that people can use for a chance to be featured. So then I also go through there every so often, and I'll pick out photos to feature because by them using that hashtag, they've granted me permission to refeature it.
Absolutely. Excellent point. Do you think, Brenda, that, we've talked a lot about Instagram and Pinterest, and your tips are just so rock solid. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Do you think that with all of this social media that it's still necessary for wedding professionals to have websites and blogs? And I guess I mean specifically a blog to be successful?
I do, personally, because the main thing basically comes down to that you don't own social media at all. It can go away and then you're lost and you have nothing to go back on. But if you have your website and your blog, those are yours. Nobody can take them away unless you don't pay your hosting fee or something. But
Sure.
but other than that, that's yours. Like, you own it. It's your own. But social media, it's always an add-on to what you have. Like, it shouldn't be your whole focus. Like, some people just use Instagram to sell on, but don't have an actual shop. And I think that's hard because if it goes away, you've lost your shop now.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And, we kind of transitioning a little bit here, using your Instagram to connect with other vendors and, your blog too. Do you think that you can still use like blog commenting or things of that nature to connect with other people in the space and build relationships? Or how do you recommend that we do that as wedding professionals?
I definitely think, well, especially with having a blog and blog commenting too, helps with SEO.
Okay.
So I actually have a Facebook group, and I love it because there's a certain day where we do a blog love day, and we'll comment on each other's blog. And it's just fun to be able to connect with other vendors, see what they're posting, and just share the love with each other and help each other grow organically. Because when you're commenting, even on Instagram, commenting and engaging, that helps you grow organically.
Okay.
And it's just great to just connect. And when you share Facebook posts, it's a way of growing organically without, because you can pay for likes and you can do all this stuff, but that's not growing organically. And it's a fake way of doing it, because if you're paying for likes, paying for followers, those aren't your target market. And sure, you could grow slower and it can take you longer, but you're growing the right way. And that's how I do it. I mean, sure, you can have tens of thousands of followers, but
the engagement won't be there.
And they will never buy from you. They will never use your services. So to me, it's just not worth it. I'd rather have my targeted following, and then I can build a following with them and a connection. They make connections that way.
I'm glad you said that. It is important to build a connection. And if all of those reasons you just mentioned weren't reason enough not to pay for followers, the platforms that you're on, if you are paying for followers, they'll hammer you.
Oh, yeah.
For getting those fake followers. But yeah, building the connection is so much, it's better, it's slower, but also it's more rewarding.
Definitely.
What do you think? Okay, so if a wedding blogger, or really anyone in the industry, Brenda, because I feel like your advice is just so widespread, it really is applicable to everybody in our industry. What's a tangible piece of advice that you would offer to someone who, aside from Pinterest or Instagram, but let's say it's someone who's maybe in the first year or two of their business, what's something that you would tell them if they want to see the success that you've been seeing on social media and with your blog?
Basically, definitely don't be afraid to try anything.
Okay. Oh,
good. On social media, you just don't know what will work and what won't work. And I've tried I'm constantly refining everything. And one thing I found is basically, especially once Instagram did that where you can only see the first 3 lines and then have more, you need your call to action. You need the main part of what you want seen right there. So I am constantly rewriting everything to make sure it's up there where it needs to be so it's seen. But just don't be afraid to try it. Be yourself, mostly, is the most important part. And like if you are sharing something, don't, like my whole thing is, people will say fake it before you make it, but I can't do that.
Just be who you are.
Yeah, like if I haven't tried a tip or if I haven't seen results from something personally myself, I can't share that that's something good to do.
Absolutely. I think that, well, yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think that sometimes I'm always feeling like that. I'm thinking to myself, like, gosh, I'm so nervous to try or put myself out there. I get like anxiety almost, like I'm just so anxious. But You're right. Just, don't be afraid to try. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Move on.
Because and you'll see certain posts, I'll just give an honest example. My posts that are just truly inspiring, pretty wedding visual, does great. But the post where I'm promoting, something that I can do for somebody, with Instagram hashtags or, my latest sign up for my, freebie that I have, it won't generate as many likes because it may not be as what they expect to see in my feed, but you see the results from it though. So it's it may not generate as many likes, but you will tend to get more click-throughs. So it's a constant trial and error to see. And then you also have to figure out what your audience likes. And I've now on my blog, I have finally, this year, I've just totally, honed in on what I want to focus on. And it's been tremendous. It's once you figure out what your audience really wants to see more of, you will just want to keep doing more of it, because you'll see the results from it.
Thank you for sharing that personal example. That's really helpful. I think that's really helpful to all of us. Well, then speaking of what your audience wants, and what you've really honed in on this year, what are 2 things you're excited about right now in terms of your business?
For me right now, I just started this last week because I just love social media and Instagram especially. So now I'm offering a free Instagram quick fix review sessions. So basically you sign up, I will look at your account and give you 2 quick tips to help you reach your target market. And then I send it off to them, and the feedback's been amazing so far for that. And then I'm just super excited about where everything is going with me working directly one-on-one with the wedding vendors. It's just, I never envisioned that it would lead this way, but it makes me so happy to be able to help the vendors one-on-one. Plus, I just love working with the vendors directly and having that connection with them and watching them grow after. So I just can't wait to see how it continues building from here.
I can't wait either. I'm so happy for you. I love to hear when people really find their niche. I feel that way with this podcast. So I am so happy for you. And Brenda, as we wrap up today, how can people get in touch with you? If they're interested in your free Instagram overhaul or would like to see what kind of services you offer, can you tell us how our listeners can get in touch with you?
Yes, basically they can just go to brendasweddingblog.com and I have a special section right at the very top of my site that asks if they're a wedding pro, and they can click there and get more info. I have a hashtag guide that they can purchase that's organized by profession, photographers, planners, florists, and it has hashtags geared towards their market that they can use. I also have a Facebook group for wedding pros where I share even more smart social media marketing tips. And then relaunching very soon is my Pinterest group course that I have.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And I will have all of these links in the show notes over at shecreatesbusinesspodcast.com. That way you can find everything that Brenda mentioned today, including the tools she uses to manage her Instagram and Pinterest pages. Those will all be linked up so you can easily find those things. Brenda, thank you so much for coming on the She Creates Business podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
It was a huge pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.